So then the memories that you can call upon or recall the easiest are called long-term memories. And the stronger the emotion you feel from some past event in your life, the more altered you feel inside of you from some external event, the moment you notice a change in your internal state, it captures all the brain's attention, and we narrow our focus on the cause, and in that moment we freeze an image, and the brain takes a snapshot, and we begin to emboss circuitry in our brain. And then people then recall the event, they talk about the event, they think about the event over and over again, and they're firing and wiring the same circuits in the same way, and they begin to hardwire their brain into the past. And when they talk about their problems, and they think about them, and they remember them, they're combining an image with an emotion, and they start the conditioning process. And conditioning is based on the past. And if you do it enough times, the body begins to believe that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, the body, as the unconscious mind, doesn't know the difference between the actual experience in your life that's creating an emotion and the emotion that you're creating by thought alone. The body's believing it's in the same past experience. So then if you think you're a failure, you feel like a failure. If you wake up in the morning feeling like a failure, you're going to think thoughts equal to how you feel. And people get caught in these loops of thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking. And the repetition of doing this over and over again, the conditioning process, conditions the body to memorize that emotion. And now the body literally is in the past. So then you can't create a new future holding on to the emotions of the past. And in fact, that person, we could say, could never see many opportunities in their future because they're viewing their future completely in the biology of the past, and they won't see possibilities. They're only looking for knowns. Are you with me still? So then crisis, trauma, disease, diagnosis, loss, betrayal, something has to cause us then to wake up. And it's usually crisis or emergency where a person reaches their lowest level, where they just can't keep any of their agreements any longer. They no longer want to see the same people. They don't want to go to dinner anymore. They're not answering their texts. They're not even watching their favorite television show. They just stopped. And that's the moment they start paying attention to how they're thinking. They start noticing how they're acting, or how they've acted, and they look, my goodness, I've been feeling suffering for the last 20 years. I didn't even know it was suffering or guilt. It's just the way I feel. And the act of becoming conscious of your unconscious states of mind and body means now you're disconnecting from the programs, disconnecting from your biology, and now you're the observer of those programs. And now you're becoming conscious, and you're objectifying your subjective self. Yes or no? So then that is unfamiliar territory. That is the unknown for most people. And the hardest part about change in most people's lives is not making the same choice as they did the day before. And the moment you decide to make a different choice or do something differently, that's when you're leaving the known familiar territory. And if the body has been conditioned to be the mind, now the servant is the master. And what happens is, the moment you decide to step into that unknown, the body starts influencing the mind. And here come the programs, because in that place of uncertainty, unpredictability, discomfort, the body is saying, I want to return back to the known because I can't predict the next moment. And it starts influencing the same thoughts. In fact, the thoughts in our head, the chatter in our head gets louder. And if we respond to that same thought in the same way, the same thought leads to the same choice. The same choice leads to the same behavior. The same behavior creates the same experience. And the same experience then will produce the same familiar feeling. And people say this feels right. No, it feels familiar. You're returning back to the known. And the door closes to the unknown. Are you with me still? So then, it makes sense then that in order to change then, you have to be greater than your body that has been conditioned to be the mind. That you have to demonstrate a will that's greater than those programs, that you have to recondition your body to a new mind. But then most people get up in the morning and they're beginning to think about all the experiences they want in their life, and they can predict the feeling of every one of those experiences. So they start looking forward to the same familiar future based on the same familiar past. So the thought leads to the same choice leads to the same behavior produces the same experience produces the same emotion, and it reaffirms the same identity, which influences the same thought. And if you wake up every morning and you follow the same exact routine, we could say that the moment you wake up in the morning and you start thinking about going to the kitchen and getting a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, you're placing your attention on the future, a place in consciousness outside of you. So there's one point of consciousness, you, and you have another thought in your mind of going to the kitchen and getting a cup of coffee or tea. A second point of consciousness. And when you begin to hold your attention on that, your body begins to follow your mind to a known. Yes or no? And as you move through space, you experience time. It takes you time to get over there. So then if you keep doing this every single day, and then you take a shower, and then you drive to work the same way, and you do the exact same things, your body over time will go on autopilot. And now it's dragging you into a predictable future based on what you did in the past. And now you've lost your free will to that program, and you're headed for a genetic destiny. How many people understand? So then, if you're waking up in the morning and you're not being defined by a vision of the future, then we could say then, for the most part, you're left with the memories of the past. And if you believe this idea, if your brain is a record of everything that's known in your life and you're not creating a future, the moment you wake up in the morning and you see the same people and you go to the same places and you do the exact same thing that you did yesterday, all of a sudden now, everything in your environment is influencing how you're thinking and feeling. Because you have a neurological network for your boss, for your partner, for your kids, for your home, for where you work, where you sleep. All the problems in your life are mapped neurologically in the brain. So your environment is made up of bodies, and people, and objects, and things and places. And so when you begin to interact with your environment, it is your environment then that is controlling unconsciously how you're thinking and feeling. Here's the challenge though. How you think and feel creates your life. That's the quantum model of reality. So if you're thinking equal to everything that's known in your life, then you're reaffirming the same reality because you're thinking in the same way and feeling in the same way. How many people understand? Now, every thought has a frequency. Every thought produces an energy. So we could say then, from a quantum perspective, you're thinking the same known thoughts the majority of the time that are producing the same frequencies. So then the same frequency is the same energy, and your life shouldn't change. And the only way your life can change